Well, a decision for college applicants are due in the next month, but not every high schooler is ready to take the next step in their academic career.
Yeah, some students could benefit from what's called a gap year. Amy Schmidt is a mom and host of the podcast Fearlessly Facing 50. She's here to tell us why parents should have the gap year discussion with their kids. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Amy, I believe one of the Obama daughters took a gap year, but can you break down what a gap year is and how do you find out if it's actually right for your child?
Yes, absolutely. And that is true. She did. You know what? A gap year is really a sabbatical. It's the year that we take a break between high school and college. And, you know, there's a lot of kids that are starting to do this. Now, in the United States, it's about 2 to 3%. In Norway and Denmark, it's like 50%. So it's definitely a conversation that is definitely with high school counselors right now and the kids. And, you know, it's something to consider. Is your kid ready for college? You know, do they need help getting organized? Are they kind of burned out? So those are the things we have to talk about.
Yeah, well, you say there are 4 good reasons to take a gap year. Your internet's a little tricky right now, or our signal is, so we'll just get started and see how far we get. The first, though, is academic reason. Is this just based on grades?
No, you know, a great question. In academics, you know, you can have an underachiever that's unmotivated or an overachiever that's really overburdened and burned out. And both of those groups could benefit from a gap year. So, you know, it's something that they have to consider. And there's some real maturity issues that can happen in that year. Maybe they need to rest and refocus and recalibrate and, you know, for personal growth as well.
Okay, so Amy, how can a gap year help kids socially and emotionally?
Oh, that's such a good question because, you know, mental health is such a topic right now. And I applaud these young adults, these high school seniors and young adults in college that are really having these courageous conversations, these transparent conversations with their parents and with their counselors about what they should do. You know, the mental health benefits are really amazing because they get a sense of purpose. They might be more resilient. They actually have time to recalibrate and they become more motivated. So there really is there's some real hope around that gap year of really recalibrating. And a lot of our students are having something called toxic productivity. And I know I've had 3 that have gone through this. So I toast all of those parents that are going through high school academics right now because it's tough. And there is something where, you know, they get burned out.
So what are some things that students should do during that gap year?
You know, that's a great question. Most often they travel. They immerse themselves in another language or another culture. They also might volunteer for something that's really on their heart. Another thing that they can do, especially if it's financially something that they need to really work toward, is they can, you know, volunteer, they can get a job, they can do an internship that is a paid internship, or they can actually get some employment that they get paid. So there's 4 great options right there for the kids to do in this 12-month period.
All right. Well, is it okay to do nothing during a gap year?
Great question. You know, and that goes back to that toxic productivity. There was a study done that actually showed that kids are so burned out that at times they just need a year of self-reflection. Now, that doesn't mean there's not a timeline and there's not a routine and a schedule and discussions with parents and with counselors. But you know what? Sometimes they just need that time to recalibrate. So it's something to consider, but certainly not doing nothing, but certainly using that time for personal growth.
Absolutely. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us today to talk us through this. Talk parents through this as well. It's good to see you always.
Good to see you.
All right, for more tips for listening to Amy's podcast, you can follow her on Instagram. The information right there on your screen.